You are listening to Digging In Podcast, presented by Rooted Wealth Advisors.
Hey everybody, I'm Kid Joe Kelly, host of the Digging In Podcast. Welcome to another episode. And yeah, I've got Mr. Zach Gray again, the man, the myth, and the legend, joining us for yet another podcast. I know. He's been on several episodes this season. I don't know what we've done to be blessed with your presence yet again.
You've locked me in the room, so let's go. What are we digging into next?
You weren't supposed to tell anybody that.
Oh, yeah.
Well, man, I don't know how to say this eloquently, so I guess I'll just get out with it.
This is scary.
But you are, so you've always been like a mentor and friend. I've always admired how you've been able to juggle everything you've got going on, right? You're the founder of Rooted. You still see clients. You do presentations, full-time husband and dad, very active dad, always running the kids to dance or swim or subak do or whatever's going on. But people might not also know that you're a serial entrepreneur. You really have a problem with starting businesses, right? You've been involved in a cattle business, in a trucking business, in cattle supplements, right? You've had your hands in all these things. How have you grown it all? How have you done it all? I know most of those things are kind of in the rear view, and you are hyper focused on being the founder and advisor and loving father and husband, right? Those are really the things that you are hyper focused on. But what has been maybe the biggest challenge on growth and scale of some of those things?
Well, there's a lot of challenges. And from a historical perspective, cattle and showing livestock was a big passion of mine. Grew up on a farm. What I realized is that is, that's a 24/7 role. And even though I hired in some great help, there's still a large part of me that has to be kind of pulled that direction. And by the way, what we found is that, of course, being a husband and a father is a 24/7 role. And then I think on past that, any other business is going to take a lot of energy and a lot of focus. And so as I started to look at that, it became a question of, what can continue to scale and can continue to grow? How can I give the as things evolve, right? I mean, anyone watching and listening can go back and think about what's this look like when I was a single individual, if you happen to be married. If you happen to be single, just thinking about what's this look like when I was a teenager versus an adult now. Kids, boy, you throw that into the mix. I mean, it's just it's a lot. And so as things have evolved, you have to start to look at, how much time do I have? Where's my time best spent for a multitude of reasons? And then you have to start to narrow that focus. And I've had a lot of different coaching over the years, still believe in that. I'm obviously willing to kind of pay for the shortcut, if you will, and that advice. But one of which was Dan Sullivan of Strategic Coach. And you kind of start to narrow down to say is like, okay, like what is that thing? Like what's the one thing that's unique you bring to the table? And how, can you delegate everything else away from that? He calls it his unique ability. Mm-hmm. And once you do that and you delegate everything that you can away and you end up at the core of saying, okay, I now am left with not much else in terms of time or focus or energy even, then that was where I knew I had to start to kind of hone in. And so, yeah, it was a huge transition for me. I still got my hands kind of loosely involved in the cattle industry, but very little. Mm-hmm. I've delegated the overwhelming majority of any decisions for that livestock supplement company, even though I own it its entirety, to other team members. And, even thinking about, a family trucking business and things of that nature, for a multitude of reasons, it probably made sense to kind of button those things up. But I think it was probably very good timing, especially as we've continued to grow and expand here at Rooted Wealth Advisors. And so, yeah, my history is pretty vast. It leads me down this path of entrepreneurship and growth and trying to stretch and push a team, of which I enjoy that challenge every single day. We just happen to do that now in a way that I think really impacts people and that we can really bring a ton of value. And frankly, it's just a weight that we wear and we wear proudly, but it's one that we don't recognize daily because this is folks' like hard-earned almost everything, right? And so to have that privilege to help folks, that's a big reason that all this focus is continually pushed down the path of Rooted, and it's been fun.
I don't know that if when you started the business, you probably didn't have the vision to be like, it's also about the team members as well, right? Because when you started, it was you, right? And then there were a couple other key team members. But did you ever think it would get to the point where it is now, where we're, you're consistently, and you're in the teens, you have all these other, strategic partnerships that you have. There's a lot of people like that you take care of personally. That's aside from the main focus of the job. I know there's some days where I look at you and I'm like, man, I don't know how you're balancing it all, right? Because you get a lot of personalities that you got to deal with, divas like that guy in marketing. But you take the good with the bad, and I think you do a really good job of kind of compartmentalizing and not necessarily letting one bad thing leak over to everything else.
Yeah, I think that, if you ask what is the number one challenge that we've probably seen, I would probably answer it in terms of that, because I believe when you become an entrepreneur, it's easy sometimes to say like, well, I'm going to be the guy that, your past is to, do a lot of video work. That's your passion, and that's amazing. And you think, and you're one of the best at it. That's how we met, folks. For those of you that don't know, doing some spotlight shoots and some, kind of one-off, video work and telling our message and our story. And then you realize like, oh, wait a minute. Now I have to do I got to run the QuickBooks and the billing for that. And then I've got to get my supply stuff figured out. So I got to do that. And then I got to figure out my schedule. So it's okay when it's like one or two jobs. And then next thing you know, it's like, well, I got to do, it's wedding season and I've got to do all these weddings. And wait a minute, I got to do all this editing because they want that. And then, now I gotta figure out the venues, and I gotta get time to go scout them out, and then I gotta deal with these wedding planners. And I'm making a correlation to a little bit of your history that maybe folks don't know, and though I don't really know if that is the case, but it's a good example of where all of a sudden now you're getting pulled in all these different directions.
It gets hairy quick. It gets really hairy quick. And if I pulled Amber in here and asked her to talk to people about your calendar, we'd have to bleep all of it out.
Very true.
Just because you're very intentional about where you're at. And we have to be very careful about what we book for you because we want to make sure it's the best use of your time. But a lot of the words we use around the office when we're talking about the business, it's like, how can we grow? Is this scalable, right? And coming with that is kind of our service initiative for 2023. We got some feedback, right, from some clients in 2022. Our clients rode the roller coaster hardcore in 2022. A lot that we couldn't control, but something that we could control and that you recognized pretty early on was the service and the communication level that we could supply to our clients.
Yeah, and I think we, of course, adapted and changed as the market changed. And I think, as we look back on that, we're really proud of how we managed the markets and the volatility and the changes that we made in their portfolio. And that's important. But as I've shared with the team and one not too long ago, is just, I think that everyone cares about that. They care about their hard-earned money. We realized as advisors that we're judged on performance and fees and things of that nature every single day, definitely every single month when the statement shows up. How did Zach and his team do? Mm-hmm. And that's why, once again, we've kind of bolted on what we feel is world-class in terms of that end of things. But yes, I don't know that, people realize how much we do care at times, and we want to make sure that's communicated. And I think that what we do realize is that when we do have those connections and we do have that communication, we're consistently putting positives into that relationship. We're kind of putting, as we kind of phrase it sometimes, like the deposits into the bank, and we're building up that credibility. We're building up that relationship. So if there's ever a time that the market goes south, or if there's ever a time that, we happen to fail on something, because we're not perfect, then we realize that, hey, we think that all of those positives that we brought to the table will help take care of those places that we potentially lack. So yes, we continue to scale and grow the team. And this is maybe another way to even kind of back into this, is that Jen and I think, realized early on, especially when Rooted was formed and this independent financial advisory firm was formed, it was like, yeah, it's just going to be me and maybe like a team member or two. And then as we kind of had a bit of a shift in terms of focus, in terms of saying like, listen, it's really important that we serve our clients. And we believe that every single day. That's the mantra of our team. It's to make sure that our clients realize that they have someone working as hard for them and their money and their family. is they've worked to build them. And we believe that you can have that all along with having a relationship and a connection, right, with your advisor, where they get you and they know you and they know you by name and they know your kids and they know a little bit of your story. We think that that's unique. We think that that's not found enough in the world today, in a world that's all digitized and it's all over the texting and there's just not that relationship. That's our stance. That's how we're planting our flag. And you know that because we try to broadcast that out to our clients, our prospective clients, even our team. But I think that what we realized is that we need to make sure that we're building out a team that can serve these folks, because there will be a day that something goes haywire and there's an emergency, a health emergency or what have you. And next thing you know, we need to make sure that those folks are taken care of at that time. I still want to take a vacation or two every now and again. I want to make sure that they're being served in that point in time.
I think Jenna wants you to take a vacation every once in a while, too.
I would love that. Let's get that on the books. But I do think it's important for everyone to understand that I think our focus shifted a little bit from serving our clients only to Jenna and I really do have really monthly conversations about how's the team doing? How are we building out that team? How can we better serve that team? And it's unique. You know, if anyone knows my wife, she knows that she doesn't have like an in-depth background in business. But for her to really kind of buy into those conversations, I think is good. It gives me a chance to kind of vent and, you know, be able to be private in some of those conversations and discussions. But at the same point, it's nice to know that I have someone alongside me that at least sees it, and she'll want to step in if need be, like if there's real, you know, crisis or something going on, if there's somewhere that we can be of benefit. We now see that as not only being able to serve clients, but we now serve many other families, you know, and that's fun and that's rewarding to us. And we believe that that's one of the reasons that we're here on earth, not to get real deep, but it's important for everyone to know that, hey, that's a big part of the growth. However, I started with what's the number one challenge, and it probably is just that. You know, it's easy to bring it back when you're the videographer and you're out there shooting some fun video and you don't have to deal with much else. When you start bolting on the responsibilities, and frankly, when you start bolting on the people, which at first take care of those maybe other responsibilities, you do realize that you're dealing with, hey, when your kids are sick, I'm out a marketing guy for the day. And I get that, and that's just life. But you have to start to realize, okay, how do I adapt? How do I change? How do I evolve? How can I start to maybe bring someone else on that can be the next in command? And all of those working components. If anyone's got some great books, I'm always willing to pick it up.
Yeah, you're always down for a good coaching book, right? I think that's certainly one of the struggles of being an entrepreneur, right? You're still in the business, but on the business as well. So, no, I appreciate the mentorship, the leadership that you provide, not only our clients, but our team as well. Also, the fact that you really truly have a calling and that you really want to help people. I think that really gives some drive and determination into what we do here. Talk a little bit about that service initiative for 2023, about having some players step up, right? How you've kind of built out the service team to really answer those questions in a timely fashion.
Yeah, I think that we always want to make sure that our clients are being treated the way that I would want to be treated, right? So when I've gone through a recent home project, and it is if you get all walks of life. I don't know what it is, but if I paint with the broadest of brush, it appears as if most of the contractors, they're swamped. There's not a lot of team there. I get it. It's very unique, you know, in terms of their skill set that they bring to the table. Sometimes I think that bleeds over into some lack of customer service. And I'm not trying to paint the contractor world in a negative light, but that has been a recent experience with a few separate contractors. And as I vented that to my wife, you know, once again, Jenna's epiphany is to say, like, well, let's make sure that you're not doing that at the office. Let's make sure that we're not creating that at the office. And so as we asked for honest and open feedback amongst a very volatile year, as we kept going back to the table and saying, hey, folks, here's what we're doing for your hard-earned money. Here's some of the changes that we've made. We just want to let you know that we are truly trying to live up to that, working as hard for you as we possibly can. People enjoyed the feedback. They loved hearing that we were doing all that we could, building portfolios in some unique ways, and et cetera, et cetera. And they also said, hey, we want to reach out and sit down. And as we started to look at the calendar, you already mentioned it earlier, it became like, oh boy, here's kind of a mess. We've got several offices in Illinois. We've kind of got a north team, a south team. We've expanded to these other states. And so we've got some team we're trying to build around there to some extent. We're also trying to fly team to some of those areas. We're trying to earmark team that's here in our home office, and we're trying to earmark them to, hey, you handle these clients and you handle those. And so it becomes the point to be made of just making sure that we're always responsive, that we're living up to that. We've now made changes, as but some of you may be that are watching, whether this is to learn as another advisory team, or maybe you're a client and this is to let we have our own fiduciary that will always be answering the phones, kind of quarterbacking the calls. If he can answer the calls right away, as soon as they come into Amber, she gets them shifted right back to our service team. Fiduciary in his own right, Logan's been amazing. He's really kind of worked to be kind of my right hand in most of my meetings, so that there's another set of eyes, right? If there's someone that needs something immediately, that they can step right in, that we've got a team member that can step right up to the plate. And I think our goal there has been shifted around, feedback we've gotten from clients, realizing that many clients came to us because they didn't get that service. They didn't get that feedback that they wanted. And if you follow that up with some of the craziness that we saw in the market in 22, if you follow that up even by the quick home example that I gave, and some of the headaches that I've gone through and my wife and I have gone through, it really did drive the bus on us saying, listen, we should make sure that we step up service. Like, what does an 11 on a 10 scale look like for service? Can we always live up to that? I don't know. And frankly, I kind of doubt it, because we're human. But what does that look like? And that is our goal, is to make sure that we're bringing as much as we can, and that we are, as as committed to our clients as possible.
So what I heard from that is you're going to start a contracting business and deliver excellent service.
That's the next one. That is the next one. We'll actually answer our phones. We'll probably be so swamped you won't even believe it.
Oh boy. Can't wait for this next adventure. No, I always appreciate that that you're just transparent on how service is going. You want to be able to provide that. It doesn't sound sexy. It doesn't sound cool. It doesn't sound like the next shiny object that we should be adding to the business. But how much value could it add to clients? Like, that is so cool. I don't know that clients really even understand everything that happens in the back office, but just to have every phone call answered or gotten back to within the same day to get their questions answered, huge. And I think that going above and beyond will really help us stand out, really show people that we care.
I agree. That's the hope. And hopefully we'll keep building on that and keep, supporting a team that, once again, supports our clients so well. And hopefully that's what distinguishes us amongst other advisors throughout the country.
That and our massive root system. That'll do it for us today. If you want to talk to Zach about all those service changes, or if you want to talk to Logan, he's on the end of those service calls. 815-918-4727. Until next time, keep digging in.
This was Digging In Podcast, presented by Rooted Wealth Advisors.